Welcome back after that short break. This single match stands between either the Glads or the Shock, making it to the Mid-Season Madness Finals. The other one will jump down to the losers bracket, where they will have to continue to fight for that place. The Glads and the Shock, well, they've both been exceptional throughout the start of the tournament. Both of them find their way through the upper bracket, and they meet right here in the upper bracket grand finals. And Rose, the Shock, still on a massive win streak, by the way. They are still undefeated, 8 matches in a row. It's insane. And in those 8 matches, by the way, they've only lost 4 maps.
Yeah, well, I think what's really incredible about getting a chance to see both of these teams duke it out in the winners finals of the Midseason Madness Tournament is that these are inarguably the 2 best teams in the Western region, and to see them go head-to-head now, I mean, this is just fantastic. I can't believe that we've got kind of 2 giga bangers of matches back-to-back, like Jen and Harry taking you through an incredible matchup earlier today, and now we get to roll right into this clash of titans. Jaws, I cannot wait to see what's going to happen for this series. Like, I'm expecting 5 maps. Can we get 5 maps, please?
Yeah.
And no C9s!
Okay, no C9s, that's okay.
Please!
That's a little bit of a hard one.
Is that too much to ask?
North American Overwatch, so yeah. Let's have a look at the Gladiators, though. I mean, look, the Gladiators, they had a tough game yesterday against the Hangzhou Spark. It went to 5 games. In fact, a lot of our ridiculous games or matches recently have gone to 5, and that was no exception. It did look like the Spark were going to win it out, but Glads clutched it in the very final few moments. We do have Kevster, Padapan, Reiner, Shu, and Astro starting us off today.
Yeah, we do, and so this definitely tells me that they want to go fast and they want to hit hard. Funny, Astro got subbed in for the final 2 maps of the Gladiators series versus Hangzhou yesterday, and you could feel the impact that that particular player had on the roster. It's not to say, obviously, that Skewed wasn't doing a fantastic job throughout the rest of the series, but Funny Astro just provides something so different in that Lucio pick, and it makes it very aggressive.
God. Lastro is just... Lastro. He's also crazy, but Astro is a phenomenal Lucio player. His aim, I tweeted it out, but his aim is the best I think we've ever seen in terms of Lucios. Let's have a look at their opponents. The San Francisco Shock. 8-match win streak, and in those 8 matches, they've only lost 4 maps. They had an unreal series versus the Dragons. A series a lot of people were thinking that would go to 5 maps, but Shock just kind of ran away with it. There were maps that just weren't even close. Like, the Shanghai Dragons fell over. Circuit Royale, Eichenwalde, like, a lot of the maps, they just were not stopped. It was insane. Proper, Sam, Mikey, Finn, and Violet starting today.
Yeah, and this just provides so much diversity when it comes to San Francisco Shock's lineup. The fact that Mikey over there is going to be in that main tank role here for the Shock. Comes in playing the Wrecking Ball. We get a chance to see some Winston, and the fact that we're kicking things off in a control map does speak that we will be having that as an option. So definitely expect Mikey to be playing both of those heroes, but proper. We talk about the meta all the time, but Jaws, we have to talk about the fact that Proper is meta. Proper is so meta.
Yeah, I think the bingo slot has already been filled. The casters talk about Rookie of the Year. I think that's happened a few times, but he's in contention and is, I think, right now far in the lead. The amount of clips he generates is astronomical. We are going on to Ilios Rose as our first map, and it was Shock's choice.
Yeah, it was, and so that's why I think it speaks a lot to why Mikey is going to be starting off for us. Definitely playing the Wrecking Ball, the Winston, and I love those choices when you look at how Shock has been able to capitalize off of the power that DPS like Sam and like Proper really bring to this roster. You know, Mikey able to create so much space with the disruption provided by the Wrecking Ball and the Winston, and also if you wanted to go over to other incredibly flexible hero choices that Sam and Proper have access to, then I think you just get a lot lot that Shock get to play around with, being such a strategic hive mind playing against these other teams. But Gladiators will provide a formidable opponent for them today, when Reiner also has that same type of flexibility as the starting tank for the Gladiators.
Sam's going to be rolling out on the Echo. I mean, this is kind of classic Gladiators 2 on this map. Funny Astro we saw yesterday, and you picked up on it already, but he was just out of control, like keeping the Glads in the game. The Des spoke about it. Playing a Lucio, hitting all those Cheerios, those left clicks, and also staying alive against some of the best players in the world. Almost impossible, but Astro always manages to do it somehow. San Francisco Shock pushed back just a little bit. Glad setting the tempo of this game for the time being, pushing all the way up to the Shock. Making sure they can't get let Mikey on the backline is quite important. A couple of try shots hits Reiner's head, however, so he has to back off, but Mikey is going pretty low. Small dive in from Reiner to try and finish the kill, but the Gladiators actually end up capping the point. A trade for Kebster for Violet, but with Lastro going down, the Gladiators might be in a little bit of trouble. Reiner falls to Mikey. Shock more than happy to let the Gladiators dive in on the back line. They have Violet and Finn sitting there, just chunking health bars down as they do win the fight and find the cap.
I love that you brought up how San Francisco were really playing that first engagement, right? Allowing Gladiators to take control of the objective first, and then you saw that Mikey got really low, started to back up towards the rest of his team, and that's when Gladiators decided to initiate. And that ultimately ended up being their demise, where you had Shock waiting for that particular moment to be able to turn the tide back in their favor. And now Proper has a pulse bomb already ready to go for the backline of the Gladiators.
Ryan's going super low, already used the leap out. There's the stick. Can they heal him up in time? No, they cannot. The Gladiators, however, in all of that commotion, managed to cap the point. Padapan gets nanoed straight to the back line. Violet in trouble. Double kill for the Genji. He's got Sam in his sights. Takes a couple of sticky bombs. Ends up falling over, but does enough damage to Sam for Kebster to finish off. Gladiators with unreal point control. Shock once again recoiling a little bit and allow Glads to cap midway through that fight.
Well, that's the power of Funny Astro Lucio. It's not even just Funny Astro just being such an aggressive player and being super slippery and survivable, but it's just Lucio allows the composition of the Gladiators to go so much faster, and Shock doesn't really have the same type of pivoting ability because they do have that more inflexible backline of the Zenyatta and the Brigitte.
Pulse bomb on the floor, unlucky. Pancake that one. Oh. There's the slam and the mines for Mikey. Once again, playing a little bit more defensive wrecking ball. A sound barrier for the Gladiators doesn't hit Reiner because he's already dead. Sam's now in the back line. Maybe goes for the Duke just before the armor goes down, but can't quite get that beam damage off. Luckily, the try shots land, and Shu does end up falling, and Shock find the cap once more.
It's going to be so back and forth, and a lot of this is just both of these teams paying so much respect to each other. They know that these fights are going to be very, very fast, and you can't make any mistakes. Gladiators already walked away with 72%, but you can see that the Shock are postured to keep this rolling and to match that, especially when you look at how Proper is poised with another pulse bomb, and Sam's got the duplicate online. Get ready for an aggressive echo.
You've got to go aggro right now. If you're Padapan, you hear that rally go up, you've got to steal that brick, but he's so low, no nano to bear. The Gladiators didn't want to combo those ults, they just throw the blade in willy-nilly. Shu, Reiner end up going down, and the San Francisco Shock, they come out king on that one. They only used the rally in that fight, Rose. Still have both DPS ults, and in fact, Padapan switching over to that Sombra instead now.
Wow, so I guess like really feeling the power of the echo right now from Sam. You cannot deflect any of those focus beams coming out from that hero, so maybe the Sombra will help to pressure down the front line of Shock just a little bit more with those manual hacks onto Mikey. But, ooh, Ana, dude?
Well, yeah, I think it was, I'm not sure what happened there, but Sam's dupe did end up going down as Kesver finds 2.5, you'll call that. Make that 2.5 now. Violet ends up falling. Gladiators just get disintegrated by Kevster in the backline. Nice little sleep on Sam. He does kill Shu, but it shouldn't matter. There's Astro with a couple of Cheerios to the dome. 96% to 86 and building, Rose. And Gladiators still have the Nano and Primal.
They do. That's huge because that could be enough sustain for the Gladiators to get to that final win condition of the EMP if they need it. Patty's already 60% there, and we are approaching the end of this round.
It's Pulse versus Pulse, rookie versus rookie. Proper sends his out. It does land on the bubble, so no damage. Reiner pops the Primal Rage, now trying to juggle Violet into the rest of his team, and Nano Boost lands on top of him. He ends up jumping straight back in. Can't really get the Primal Blade, but helps Patapan secure the kill on Violet. Overtime is here, and Shock now pressured to touch the point, but there's almost nobody left. It's only Proper and Mikey who's taking a nap. Proper is 1 HP, struggling to find a health pack to pick up. Wasn't quick enough to get back to the point in time. The Gladiators claim the first round.
Well, an exceptional example of these two teams going head-to-head already in that first round and how quickly they are to adjust to each other. Gladiators didn't get any value from any of the Dragon Blades that came out from Patapan, immediately switched him over to the Sombra and started to go ahead and take the round. But Shock also playing that so well to deny the Gladiators the aggressive stance that they wanted to take with the Lucio for so long. But boy, oh boy, this is going to be so back and forth, and I cannot believe we already got such a treat for that first round.
That was an unbelievably well-executed dive by Reiner and Kevstar.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going onto Ruins. Reiner's now on the Doom. A little bit easier to counter the Wrecking Ball, of course. Can just kind of boot the Wrecking Ball around. Oh, okay. Patapan just gets logged. All right, that's a good way to start if you're Shocked. Nice sleep on Reiner. Shouldn't result in all too much, though. Gets anti, but it's whatever. Yeah. All right, go again, maybe. Maybe a little bit of poke, but with Sam setting up like this, Rose, Gladiators are going to watch their head.
Yes, they do. We have seen many player recently get surprised, maybe, by some of these dome shots, and Hanzo definitely provides that utility. Quick capture for the Shock, though.
Yeah, Reiner's getting rolled in the front line. He put out the power block, but he was already antied, and if you shoot him from behind, it doesn't really matter. Oh, Astro, yeah, okay. Can't do any funny business, son. You have to sit down. However, Patapan and Shu still end up finding kills, but with Mikey on the back line and the health bars dwindling for the Gladiators, it's a pretty easy win here.
Yeah, that's just going to allow San Francisco Shop to keep the ball rolling, and we might start to see some adjustments coming in from the Gladiators. I mean, already we're going to see Reiner switch from the Doomfist to the Winston, and that should help to initiate on some of these dives onto the backline just a little bit better. Violet this time around is going to be playing the Ana instead of the Brigitte, but it's still a pretty stationary backline when you take a look at things. That's a huge pick.
Not much of a log, maybe a digital log, but it still hit Violet's head and he ends up dying. Good start. Paddy finds 2. Gladiator is happy to walk this one home. Maybe Proper comes back with the pulse bomb, but rather unlikely. I think they just want to go again. I mean, you take that 50+%. Okay, well, Vin's trying to kick Patapan to death, but that ain't going to work out.
Well, you gotta try, right? You walk away with as much alt charge as you can. So at least Finn will be even closer towards that Transcendence heading into these next rounds. Sam, though, switching off the Hanzo now onto the Sojourn, a little bit more mobility afforded, and you still have a lot of that one-shot potential with those charged up railgun shots, but you also just have more consistent damage, it feels like, when you have such mobile pieces of the Gladiators on the other side.
Kevstar just blinked through the sure, why not? Vin does get nanoed, and Violet somehow still alive. Proper kills Shu, so Gladiators just kind of falling over. What happened there? That was, I mean, I thought Kevstar was just going to go for the pulse bomb onto Violet. It seemed a pretty easy target, but I guess their ideal engagement was just killing Finn. The Gladiators, at least they have that beat left. And here's Finn. Yeah. He does get nanoed too. Just kind of goes crazy with it. Yeah, the entire line of the Gladiators just dove to the backline to kill that Zen, but Kevstar had a chance to pulse bomb Violet, but just chose not to. Now approaching the point once more. There's a beat for the Gladiators. Might just want to go quick, force out the Transcendence from Finn. There it is. Spin forced, and Patapan on the wrong side of that bubble. The beat does end up going out anyway for the Glads as they do surge on forwards all the way back to Shock spawn. Reiner jumps on top of Finn, turns him to mush. Make that a double as Violet goes down. But the San Francisco Shock still on 95%. Mikey is on the point, still contesting, making sure they individual percent towards their victory and their win condition. Astro going pretty low as Proper is still alive, hunting him down. Oh, he's 1 HP. Just finish him. Get health back as well. Maybe take the 1v1. Throws out the pulse bomb, goes completely wide, but he is still alive in the back line, but Gladiators still control the point.
Yeah, they did get the flip in that engagement, just trying to finish off the last dredges of the San Francisco Shock, so Proper goes down. That should stop the recontest from the Shock for just a little while. Especially as that extra shot from Patty comes through, but this is a pretty big flip for the Gladiators here, knowing that Kevster still hold on to that pulse bomb.
They're finding some nasty staggers. This is not good for the Shock. They need to just complete, reset as 5, go again. They don't want to bleed any more time. Gladiators just want to force this final fight. I mean, we're at 75% already, Rose.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we took a look at how we actually saw kind of Proper playing in the back line as well, just to be able to deal with Patapan and all of that, I really thought that Shock might be able to keep the control of the point, but at least Shock have some tools to come back in now with Final Fight.
Sam trying to drill on Patapan. Patapan's having none of it. Shu in a little bit of trouble. Can Sam land the shot? It's only a body shot, but no follow-up. Reiner gets the nano, jump straight to the back line. The Gladiators just rolling the Shock right now. The Glads do end up losing Shu, but they're in control of the point. Reiner just absolutely decimates the Shock, and they claim map number 1. Glad's coach, good map pick. Claps all around. Remember, Shock comes in, Rose, choosing this map. Glads, yeah, whatever, we'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's exactly what you want to do as, do we even call them the lower seed here? We're looking at seeds 1 and 2 right now. Lower seed doesn't really seem to be any sort of indicator of skill gap difference here that we're going to see between these two teams. But it does feel good as the lower seed coming in, winning your opponent's map pick, that's for sure.
Yeah, the confidence booster is huge. You bet the boys are hyping them up now. You can see Interface and Smash. Just giving a few words of advice before they go to map number 2. It will be Shock's pick once again. We'll see where they want to go after this break. Glad's off to a strong start as the San Francisco Shock looking a little bit more like a side character right now. As the Glads kind of steamroll the control, took it 2-0 as we head to Hybrid, and Eichenwalde is the next map.
Yeah, and that's not really a surprise. I would love to call up something that the Watchpoint desk talked about during the pre-show, and that is the hybrid map records for both of these teams coming into the Midseason Madness Tournament. I mean, Eichenwalde is Shock's strongest record, and when you take a look at the fact that the Gladiators don't have much official experience on this map, and they also don't have a positive map record on it, I think that speaks volumes to why Shock would want to take us here. Not only that, but during the Midseason Madness Tournament, San Francisco Shock have pulled out a Kaluge Diva, which I think has been a surprise to a lot of people. But speaking of that, well, let's talk about some of the substitutions we're seeing for this map.
Yeah, Kaluge is coming in, which is good stuff. It's kind of, yeah, you'd expect it. Skew is coming in for Astro, and when we talk about this Diva pick, Rose, I want to say, like, some people are hating on the Diva, some people are liking it. I personally quite like it. On second point, Eichenwalde, I think it's very, very strong. Just because you can get up to the high ground so quickly and so often. But with Diva, more often than not, right now in the meta, you're playing more of a defensive style of things. But we'll have to see how that ends up going down. Maybe they picked that up, or they got something else they're saving. Yeah. I think the Shock tweeted out something a little bit earlier on as well. You know, we got a lot of traffic on this side of the break. I mean, look at that. When two Chads meet.
Wait, you know what's really impressive about this, though, too, Jaws? I think we all know how tall Kaluge is.
Yeah. Is there some weird camera angle thing going on here?
I don't know. Are they both this tall?
Ryan is also pretty ginormous, I will say. Just a little peck on the cheek before you start the game. That's how two Chads. Okay, there you go. Well, there you go. Okay. Who can crack first? Ryan has already lost.
Oh.
Okay, this is a Peggy 12 stream. Peggy 12 stream, by the way. Okay.
I love it, though. No, definitely two Chads. I mean, you saw that, and you're going to see that throughout the remainder of this series, how important that tank role is for both of these teams, and how much they're going to be playing around that heading into these future maps. I mean, I think the fact that it looked like San Francisco got folded over like deck chairs on a warm summer's day there is because Reiner became the unbeatable raid boss. Did you see how many resources the Gladiators were putting into this man to take out the Shock?
Look, at the end of the day, if one player's popping off, you just continue throwing resources at them to make sure they can pop off. Yeah,
just nano
just nano shy every single fight. If you don't have nano and you don't have if shy's not alive, then it may be GG. I mean, hey, if it works, it works. Okay.
Oh, it's too soon. It's too soon, Jaws. You can't say GG yet.
All right.
Anyway.
Going to Eichenwalde as our next map. And yeah, Rose, like that scoreline for the Shock is kind of insane. Like 6-2 on this map. Not so hot on Midtown, 1-3. Not great. Not great.
I guess that's... Well, at least they got the choice, though,
exactly.
Right?
That's what I was about to say. At least you get that benefit, right? Oh, we've lost the first map. But we get to choose the next one, right? So you're hoping that plays into their wheelhouse. And like I said, maybe we do see a little bit of Kaluge Diva on the second point. You play a little bit more defensive, using your Matrix for your supports. It can get kind of run over if you're not careful, and it's a bit of an old battery too, or I wouldn't say an old battery, a railgun battery for the Sojourn. It can be. Because you have to use that Matrix so sparingly.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right, and I think that's why there's this love-hate relationship right now with seeing Diva as a part of this meta and San Francisco Shock relying on this particular hero choice for a lot of their team comps. It's a great boon when it works for your team, and if it's in the right hands, like Kaluge piloting the mech, I think you're going to be fine. But depending on the team that you're playing against, it can also be a detriment, and I feel like if you've got a Sojourn with Patty behind the wheel, that might be a detriment. We'll see. We'll see. How do you get gapped, flippin'? Okay. Anyway.
It's when two Chads meet. That's the title of their love story.
I love it.
All right. San Francisco Shock. They are going the Diva, but it's on first point. Gladiators, I think, are more than happy with this. They can obviously switch if they need to, but Reiner running the Zarya. typically the Zarya rolls the D.Va. Beam goes through Matrix. Very nice. Micro missiles charge up the bubble, charge up from the bubbles super easily. That was a nice little sleep on to Paddy. Doesn't result in anything, but it's up to Reiner here to make the space. But when you don't have those bubbles, Rose, very tough to do so. Up to 40% energy, not the worst, but they just have to watch out. Proper's in the backline, and 70% ult charge. Make that 75. Counter with numbers right now. Make that 80 almost for the San Francisco Shocks Proper. He's close to Pulse, and it hasn't been like a minute yet.
Nope. Nope. That's Proper for you. Proper's meta.
He's gonna get it.
Proper's meta, and the Pulse Bomb will come online very quickly.
Will they expect it? Not sure. Violet's already dead. Proper needs to do something with his Pulse, but already hit him with the recall. They do trade 1-for-1 as Skew goes pretty low. He's getting perma-pocketed by Shu right now, who's earned the nano off of all of that damage that Proper's been doing. Skew DMX, Kaluge, kills Finn.
What?
Easy game. There's the point. The Gladiators end up unlocking the payload.
Yeah, wait, what? Shock just got 2 picks.
At the very end, that's
but
unfortunate.
You can't tell me they weren't close enough.
Yeah.
Throw their bodies on the point real fast.
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
We'll go back and check the tape in a little bit. Regardless, Shocker set up on the second point where we expect to see the D.Va perform just a little bit better. Especially when you know that, hey, there's still a Pulse Bomb that could, Kaluge isn't going to block his own team's Pulse Bomb, but you've got other things that could be coming your way. Like, Reiner's actually working up to a Graviton Surge very quickly here. The defense matrix could be very important.
Yeah, you got to eat it. This is one of the better points for the D.Va to be up. Reiner going pretty low. Kevster trying to disrupt the high ground here. And it's all up to Kaluge to touch this payload. Like, he's the one that has the perma in on it. But against that Zarya, it's a little bit harder than you might think. Reiner got the grab online. Kaluge has to escape to the high ground. Kev's still trying to build up towards that blade. Proper still holding on to this Pulse Bomb, but the rest of the Glad's catching up with the ultimates. Sam's going to get Nano, dive straight to the back line. Kaluge in a little bit of trouble. Perfect defense matrix there from Kaluge, stopping all the healing, landing onto Reiner. The blade's been pulled from Kevster. He does find 2. Both supports now dead for the Shock. Sam transforms into the Sojourn to try and keep his team in this. A nice slide headshot kill onto Skewed, and the San Francisco Shock, even without support, managed to hold on.
Wow, look at that. Yeah, I mean, you had to use quite a few resources there. Sam using Duplicate, that did help keep the defense alive for the Shock, but now you are looking at the fact that you've got a bomb and you got 2 bombs. Is that enough?
You got a bomb in Kevster too. Hasn't got the play, but doesn't need it. Transcendence actually from Skewed, potentially forced. Not sure what happened there. Violet's in a little bit of trouble. Does anti-Kevster, deflects up though. Padapan finishes up with the clean. And the San Francisco Shock with a sleeping Proper. Yeah, it's about over. The Gladiators on a good little push here. 3 minutes to go as they cross this bridge.
Oh, look at this. I love that we're seeing this change from Violet. Violet's actually going to go ahead and play the Batiste. Sam also switching off of the Echo.
Wow.
Finding not the right type of value that we would have hoped to see from those hero picks, and Shock kind of just forced here to stop at the door.
He almost sees his grab of his life there, but Sam just slides out of it. Self-destruct gets launched into the stratosphere, still manages to kill Padapan. Perma-pocket onto Kevster now. He's got no nano, but he's got the blade. 2 kills with 1 slash. Violet does end his life quick, sharp, but the San Francisco Shock will hold. The Skewed, doesn't win that duel versus Finn. The Violet with the Batiste, very big brain play. That lamp saved them a whole heap of damage and made sure they could kill Reiner on the Zarya.
Well, that's the biggest problem, and that's why you're seeing Gladiators start to also make some adjustments of their own. Reiner's off the Zarya now onto the Wrecking Ball. A bit more mobility, plus you're playing around that bridge, which means you might get some sweet environmental kills. But this is just the strategic minds of both of these teams. They're making these mid-map adjustments to play against the meta of the other team. And that's absolutely big. You can see that Gladiators are constantly trying to think about what is going to get them one step further towards their goal of going to the finals here. Shock just trying to get back in this one.
Proper's flirting with the idea of just blinking onto the back line. Padapan used the overclock, spotting Kaluge, but he's eating most of those rails. Perfect use of the Matrix. He's just looking at him permanently. Proper does the miracle stick. How does he get those? lobs it in, kills Skew. Kevster ends up going down, and Proper is still destroying the backline of the Gladiators. It's a tough ask to push onto this this second point, especially with how close the spawns are for the defense. The Shock are holding firm for now, but Glads, they got a minute to play with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why Gladiators are really hoping that they might be able to get something else done here with the Patapan Sombra switch. Just it worked out for them last time on the very first map of this series. Is this last second pick going to work here as well? May not be enough time to actually get an EMP up, but the manual hack to be able to remove something like the defense matrix from the Shock could prove huge to busting open these castle doors.
Got a problem on their hands though. Rose, double support ultimate for the Shock. Like, okay, Paddy is just scouting, knows where Violet is, can go for the hack if they can set up the dive, but everybody's super far away. Does get a hack from Kaluj, but it's more of an interrupt now, so the Matrix comes back online rather quickly. Sam's already killed Kevster. There's 15 seconds to go as the Gladiators are getting actually wrecked by Sam. There's a nano on the Sojourn. He's got the overclock. And the Shock, well, they're still sitting on 2 ults. The Gladiators need to be able to touch, but I don't think they're going to get there. Well, I guess Patapan is, but he's quickly put to sleep by Violet. The payload is going to end here, unless Kevster can get back to the point in time, but looking quite unlikely. The San Francisco Shock backline looking like a Gordian knot right now. Unbreakable. The payload just before that second point, Rose. It's so tough. You're sitting on 2 support ultimates, you're golden.
Oh yeah, that was, I mean, Finn just used the Transcendence there celebratory. Didn't even need it for the rest of that last fight. It was great to have as an insurance policy though, especially with the Paddy switch over to the Sombra. Maybe you get the hack, maybe you force out the Transcendence. But there wasn't really anything else the Gladiators could have followed up with that either. And unfortunately, when we did see those swaps come through, felt late.
Yeah.
But Shock definitely have they know where the goalpost is here to get another map win under their belt on Eichenwalde.
And this Sombra didn't end up really working out for Paddy. And then you look at the other side, Sam has 12 out of the 24 kills for the Shock right now, like the final blows. Yep. It's pretty remarkable. Like, Patapan's just not having that same kind of impact. We'll have to see how they do on their defense. They're going to roll out with Reiner again on the Zarya.
I think the Zarya is still a smart choice. I think Gladiators will find out, though, that as Shock start to move some of those other pieces around, like maybe Sam gets off of the Echo as we see them progress into the second point, and then Violet also decides to switch back over to something like the Baptiste, it will become a little bit more difficult, I think, for something like the Zarya to work. However, there's no Diva this time around. It's a last-second switch from Kaluj will bring us to Winston to kick off this attack push for them as Sam already starts to take a decent chunk of damage here, tussling with Kevster over there on the left.
Those bubbles are so valuable. Oh, you can't bubble that. You can't bubble a big right-click from Finn. That's rather unfortunate. Patapan just, again, not quite having the same impact right now as Sam. Good anti. A swift kick from Finn sends Kevster flying, and even a little bit of defensive sticky bombs. Reiner does end up finishing the kill, but with Kevster down and Patapan only just coming back from the spawn, the San Francisco Shock, they swarm the point. Proper is also pretty low, but with Violet and Finn in a very defensible position, they're good to take 2 ticks. The Gladiators are able to contest now, but have no ults to really spare. Luckily, Shu, with all the damage that his team's been taking, he's going to have that nano online pretty soon.
Yeah, that nano will definitely be helpful. I mean, you can see how much pressure Shock has been putting onto this backline as well, whether it's been sending Proper after those 2 supports, or it's just been the pressure of the Discord orb. Yeah, gotta take some cover.
Oh, Kevster, no recall, maybe? Proper pulse bomb. He's got Shu in his sights. Skewed is right around the corner. There's the stick. There's the double kill for Proper. That'll open this wide open. However, people are still alive on the Gladiator side, but not for long. Skewed trying to get as much as he possibly could done, but it wasn't quite enough. The Shock, they unlock the payload. A respectable amount of time. 4 minutes and 40 seconds.
so much, and they just have to get to the castle doors. Somehow,
Robert's gonna
Kevster also goes down. Where was that on the map? I think that was over by
somewhere.
the castle. I think Kevster was trying to back up, and then Proper was like, I don't think so. So just a little bit of a stagger. It does stop the Gladiators a little bit from being set up here. I mean, look at just how much harassment Proper has been getting into the backline of the Gladiators. In fact, the rotation that they're taking just so that it's a little more difficult for the Shock to reach them on the high ground is how much respect they are paying to not only this aerial unit of Sam's Echo, but also just the ground troops of Collusion proper.
Nice dive, nano boost onto Sam, the Transcendence to keep the backline of the Glads alive, but Kevster's already dead. Violet also bites the dust, but Sam transforming into the Arna. You got 2 healers back now. Sam with 2 kills, can he make it another? He's gonna get a free nano basically off of all this healing. There you go. Reiner ends up ending his own life, unfortunately, with a right click into that bubble, and the San Francisco Shock looking mighty large coming into this last corner.
Yeah, you can see that Reiner now swapping over to the Doomfist. It's a little bit do or die here for the Gladiators because Shock, they've got snowball tools, and there's really one more fight here that the Shock will need to take in order to win, and that's a Pulse Bomb!
Padapan still ends up going down. I thought that sleep was going to run out, and I think the Gladiators thought that as well. The San Francisco Shock again off to a good start. Taking away Padapan's going to put a hindrance in the Gladiator. What do you have? Overclock, Pulse Bomb, Nano Boost coming out for Glads. They just need to survive before these ults get online. The Transcendence from Finn's going to be good. Kevster jumps in with the Pulse Bomb on the back line, but ends up going, or like missing. Reiner falls, and the San Francisco Shock are just picking off the Glads one by one before they can get ults up. The Nano comes out, but Kevster can't get the damage done. The focus fire is too good, and the healing's even better from the San Francisco Shock. Even without Violet, you still have Finn alive and well on the point. 2 meters to go for the Shock, and Finn ending Kevster's life. It's only up to Padapan now. Shu does end up coming back, but it is a very slow, hovering Zen to get there, but it ain't gonna happen. Shock take Eichenwalde and tie the series up.
That was very convincing, too. Look at how convincing the Gladiators win on Ilios was, and now we've got the flip of that with Shock, with a convincing victory over the Gladiators on Eichenwalde. Jaws, does this mean that as we go into these next maps, when these teams get to pick for loser pick, they're just gonna keep picking these maps that they can dominate the other teams with and have it work? We might get 5 maps this way.
It's looking like it. That was complete opposite what happened on Control. Glad to see that 2-0. San Francisco Shock on their map pick. Remaining, Eichenwalde's king? Maybe. Not sure. Right, it's Gladiator's turn to pick this time around. Maps are going back so fast. It might be a 5-mapper, Rose, but it might be a quick one if this keeps happening. We'll see where they want to go after this break. Don't go anywhere.
said lightning doesn't strike twice has never met the San Francisco shot.
Some of the most hardcore carry performances that I've ever seen.
Just a depth of talent on their roster that can't be denied.
I mean, what more can you ask from the Shock?
This is going to be a wild ride.
Violet is cracked. He's out of his mind. I say that justice. Okay.
Tasted everything right now.
Jesus Christ, dude. Sam is deadlifting right now, actually. Finish is doing so much. Cleans it up like DPS and Yada.
San Francisco has cemented themselves as the greatest team in Overwatch.
Welcome back after that small break. Let's play a game. Real quick.
Okay.
Who is in? Arms in space. Ooh. Where are we going?
Haha.
Should be an easy one. Go on.
I think I know this one.
Go on. No,
Dorado.
Oh, okay, well. Close. It is a push map. It's Circuit Royale. It's a push map. It's not a push map. I meant an escort map. Yeah, look. When we see space, when we see Arns, we're going to Circuit Royale. The Gladiators roster, Rose, is something we've both spoken about a lot before, but like how much depth they have. They have Asher when they play Lucio. They have Skewed and Shu when they want to play like the Zen and the Ana. Space comes in when they need the Sigma play. Ash or Widowmaker can be played by Arns. Kevster plays everything. And that's one of the big strengths about the Glad is just how deep their roster goes.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and I think we talk about this a lot for the Los Angeles Gladiators, is that they get a chance to show us so many different looks. I mean, the fact that you can go to Circuit Royale and bring in your experts at the Widowmaker and the Sigma to give yourselves the best chance possible speaks volumes to just the flexibility of the roster. But not only that, just the mid-map adaptations that we've been seeing as well when it comes to the Zarya to the Doomfist or the Wrecking Ball that we saw on just Ike and Valda alone from Reiner. Yeah, this roster has an incredibly deep hero pool in its pocket, and I love that we get a chance to see this every single time we see them play.
That is very true. And look, the Shock came off an extremely dominant Icon Vault. And we talked about Sam a little bit in there, saying how many final blows he had, but proper stats also just sky high on his Tracer. 15 final blows, 4 pulse bomb kills, only 2 deaths, which is crazy.
So gross. That's so gross. This is the level of play that we wanted to see from Proper coming into this match, though, and I love that we've got the statistics to back up the eye test of just how impactful this particular player has been. And, I mean, I don't know, Jaws. Proper was just such a big reason as to why San Francisco Shock made the Shanghai Dragons look like wet noodles yesterday. And so to see him showing up here today pretty big as well has been really fun to watch.
And one of those maps that they made Dragons look like wet noodles on was Circuit Royale. They just didn't stop the payload going. It was an unbelievable display from the San Francisco Shock. But then you got to think, well, Gladiators, they want to go to this map so they can play space, so they can play Arns. It's on your screen, of course, is the tournament rewards, the money, and the points to go towards later on in the season. Pretty big. I mean, if you do win here, of course, this being the upper bracket finals, winner here goes to the grand final, so it's a minimum of 250k, which is also nice.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at the jump in prize money. For the winner of this match, you get to go to the Midseason Madness Finals. You're guaranteed at least $250,000. And look at those sweet league points, Jaws. Those will definitely come into play as we get into future stages of the Overwatch League season as well. And so both of these teams playing out all the stops here to make sure that they can get that one step closer. Obviously, the loser's not out of it, right? They get to jump down into the lower bracket where they get to play the winner of Atlanta Reign versus the Philadelphia Fusion.
Yeah, and that is going to be a hard matchup in of itself, right?
That's going to be tough.
Fusion have been also looking extraordinarily good. Now the Gladiators, of course, want to take the dub here so they can have back-to-back finals appearances. They did in the kickoff clash, ended up winning. They want to do exactly the same here, just continue their dominant spree. Although it's funny because the Gladiators being the #2 seed, the Shock being #1 seed, the Shock didn't end up winning kickoff clash, but they have done so well in the regular season. Still undefeated in the regular season, mind you. Well, 8-match win streak. We already talked about it, right? All right, let's go to Circuit Royale. Gladiators on the defense, so Arn Space, of course, on the Sigma and the Widowmaker. I've got a little feeling we might see a little bit of Ashe here, although I do think the Widowmaker is just way better because the angles and the grapple and stuff like that, but wouldn't mind a Ashe either. What's Finn got to play today?
Come on, Finn. Give us the goods.
Oh.
Would you like spark?
That's so pretty. I love it. Now I feel refreshed.
Yeah.
I feel refreshed and ready to go.
Revitalized.
Apparently, so do the rest of the Shock. You know, before we get into like the heavy-hitting action of this match, Jaws, the question that I have in my mind is, you're just subbing in Kilo and Ons. Are they warm and are they ready? Like, as the Gladiators, you are under the impression that these two players can slot in and take you into the next map, no problem. But remains to be seen whether or not that actually ends up happening. It's Widowmaker, after all. Kind of tough.
Jump shot. It is, yeah. Kilo's aim is just phenomenal. When I was watching him before the season started on Soldier when they were playing that, I'm just blown away by how clean his tracking is. A little bit different on the Widowmaker. It's a bit more flick orientated with the aim, but still, he is quite nutty. Arns is all the way back. You can see on the ramp already. Rose, they're just getting pushed in. They really need a pick from Arns right now. He does end up taking a body shot. No one's healing him right now, so he can't really take another one before he ends up going down.
Yeah, good Kilo as well. Woohoo!
I mean, tagging a Widowmaker like that, Rose, is super good because you stop them from really doing much. He tags Arns again, but it's through the small little like sign things. There's a very, very small gap where you can hit people. If you hit a headshot there, it looks unbelievable. Early window from the Gladiators, and Space doing an unreal amount of damage. Same with Kaluge. Lamp's been used by the Shock already. Both fluxes up in the air, but the Immortality Field's going to save the Shock's life for the time being. Arns loses the duel to Kilo, who now has a free line of sight on the back line of the Gladiators. A swift team kill, and the Shock used the Lamp early, and they still come out on top, which is a miracle more often than not.
Well, I mean, that was just a huge opening pick there for Kilo as well, to be able to take out that pressure of Ons. And then that was just like, yeah, we're comfortable and we're confident. We're the Shock, and we're just going to go ahead and do Shock things. But there's still some time here for the Gladiators to now come back and contest on second. They have used quite a few of their tools, though. Look at how much Kilo is out-damaging Ons at the moment, completely outpacing him on the infra sites. So that's not going to be available right away to be able to respond to when Kilo gets his active. He's going to pop it right away.
Yeah. Might have had that feeling that Arns is a little bit further behind. It's a nice angle up there, but yeah, the problem is the Gladiators are not going to peek. They might do now, as Kevster has used the overclock. Proper's got one to his name, and he is hiding behind this column, but can't quite see Proper. Kevster misses the last overclock shot. Kilo takes to the skies. A body shot on Shoes, not going to result in all too much. The Gladiator is playing around this Widow sightline perfectly. And yeah, even space checking Kilo.
Well, you have to, but that does start to leave room available for Kaluge to start going in and getting his own hands dirty. But Space already working up to another Flux here.
Shot misses Violet. There's the Flux. Two people in the skies. Transcendence popped, but Kilo ends up going down. Fully charged shot through the Transcendence, kills Kilo. And now the cleanup for the Glads. You're pretty happy with that if you're Glad. You win the fight, and you also burn a ton of time off of the bank.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you're definitely really happy about this as the Gladiators. I think you finally get a chance to take a breath. because of all the pressure that Shock have put onto this matchup, and the fact that you get a big pick onto Proper as well. I don't even know how that happened, but Kevster really out here trying to carve out every opportunity possible, and Gladiators get a chance to be a bit more aggressive here as well, going back to this first defensive corner.
Yeah, the card's rolling back slowly. Oh, you hit a shot like that. Like I said, it's a bit wicked, that is for sure.
Yeah.
Whoa. Kalush ends up falling. Okay. Yeah, the card's rolling back, and normally it's not like a significant amount of space, but look at it right now. It was on the final corner, and now it's all the way back. The Glads need to be able to touch, but obviously impossible at this point. Oh, sorry, Shock need to touch, but almost impossible at this point. Just rolling back down.
They have a lot of time, though. They're like 2 minutes. So that's still a lot of time for the Shock to come back in and do something with. And you're at this point, as the Shock, trying to make sure that you get the economy out of the Gladiators, get this Transcendence, get this Ant Matrix.
Perfect lamp. Transcendence comes out with both DPS and the Shock already dead. Kilo tries for a grapple shot into the back line, but doesn't really find all of anything. The rest of his team are doing the heavy lifting. Nice headshot onto Shu. They get a lot of card progression here, but it's card progression that they already made, but the stagger kill onto Skewed's gonna be good. Should be able to cap. Maybe Space can juggle this. Shu's behind him, so he can give him the orb, but that's about it. So it looks like Gladiators are just gonna let them cap, and they're gonna take a more advantageous spot on the high ground here.
Well, it'd be so bad if the Gladiators aren't all together there and they lose somebody going into that recontest. Then Shock just snowball all the way to the end of third point. And especially when they've got ultimates to spare as well. That would just be absolutely disastrous, and what an int on their part. But Gladiators get to hold on to these tools for the defense on third. You can see the flux that Space is going to be getting ready to use. Finn doesn't have the Transcendence quite yet to use that as an insurance policy if the Immortality field isn't enough. But at this point, I don't know if Space can even use it here. Kevster's down.
Good start for the Shock. Lamp for Shock. Yep, there you go. Flux doesn't really get anything. The entirety of the Shock around the corner. Overclock coming out through the window. Insta-kill on Shu. And now Arn's in a little bit of trouble. I don't think you win these, but maybe you do. His aim's cracked, but Proper is better. The San Francisco Shock, they got Transcendence, they got the Flux. Kevster has popped the overclock, but needs to come up massive. He misses one shot, look into the back line. Kilo's there, but finally takes him out with the help of Proper. 1 minute and 40 seconds to go. The Flux to send Space's health bar down and out of the mech. Goodbye, Gladiators. The Shock have capped 1 minute and 37 seconds in the time bank. And they're looking also good. Space's Flux didn't really get anything on that second to last corner there, Rose. Or on the last corner, sorry.
No, it didn't. It was just because of some really nicely timed Immortality fields from Violet. You don't really have a whole lot of pressure from the rest of the composition of the Gladiators to force out those Immortality fields early, or even the Transcendence early. And despite the fact that Finn didn't have the Transcendence, it's always nice to have just in case. But yeah, just clinical play coming through from the Shock there to be able to deal with each and every ultimate that Gladiators was throwing at them.
And this was the map that they toppled the Dragons on, the last map of the series, and it was a cakewalk for them. All right, we'll see how they do on their defense. Finn on Lucio? I mean,
what?
Yeah, I don't think he's rolling out. That would be too ridiculous.
Yeah, I was like, no way.
Yeah.
I was like, no way.
He goes back to Zen. All right, we'll see how Glads end up doing, because the Kilo versus Arn's duel. Arn's looking a little bit cold right now. Just jumping into the server, not having as much impact. To be fair, Kilo's not finding crazy picks. It's more been on Proper and Collusion. Collusion's positioning over Space. That's winning them out a lot of these fights.
Yeah, but you have to also pay attention that we just saw one push where the Widowmaker on the attacking side does seem slightly favored on most of the places where you would want to take these fights. And so it can be tough as the Sigma to make sure that you are covering for all of your angles. So I'd like to see if the Gladiators can start to use some of those attack angles to their own advantage moving into their second round here. San Francisco Shock, though, I mean, look at how far forward they're playing. We don't usually see teams contest on that very first corner of the shop. It's usually the second corner where we see proper.
I think Kilo heard me. Nice kill onto Arn. Someone is going for that flank, but all right, no Widowmakers at all. No more long-range duels. Space takes care of Kilo. Kevs is in a really nice spot, but he's got to be careful. Yeah, someone could be creeping behind him. It is Proper taking the 1v1. You're not going to win with the Disruptor shot down at your feet. And now Proper has asserted his dominance on the high ground, taking a fair bit of damage with a Discord Orb on top of him. Way too aggressive as Arn's come back from the spawn, takes care of it.
I think you're okay with that, though. Shock already had the numbers, and at this point, you're expecting that Kevster will take a little while to respawn as well. Kevster is back, though, but we'll see that Kilo is still dinking heads.
Yeah, this is such a strong position too. Kevster has to be super careful. Windows are going to get used. Actually forces the lamp super early. A very late window from the San Francisco Shock, but luckily Kaluja's shield repaired just in time for it to be used. And yeah, the San Francisco Shock, they almost, I wouldn't say bait Glads in, but Glads forced around that corner. Proper peeks his head out, disruptive field, a couple of shots. They were good.
Well, it was all about the fact that Gladiators used that amplification matrix, and I think they were hoping that would buy them a bit more space than it did. You saw the Disruptor shot really place San Francisco Shock just a little bit far backwards, but kind of kited them away from the damage you would have wanted to be able to get onto them with the amp matrix active. And so they get to fire back with their own. And now San Francisco Shock are just continuing to methodically move through these ultimates that they have. Double Flux, though.
Fluxy Flux. Transcendence available from Fim, but they're going to use that lamp instead. All right. Now, how does Kaluj approach this? It looks like a small 1v1's happening between Kevster and Proper right now, but with the sights, Kilo is providing a lot of pressure on this high ground. A body shot on to Kevster, gets healed straight up, and now a Transcendence. This time to stop Kevster doing a whole bunch of damage from the side. Proper once again, just peeping out of nowhere. Is a triple kill right now. Can he get 4? Can he get 5? Of course he can. Proper with 5 kills. Sojourn was built for Proper. That is who they modeled it after.
I think so. I love the little, like, cheeky smile from Proper, just like acknowledging that he did a good job in that fight, have brought the Gladiators to sub 1 minute to be able to try to capture this first point, and they are at a stalemate, Jaws. Gladiators don't have a whole lot to work with either. They're gonna have to use this Transcendence aggressively. They don't need to counter a Flux here, so at least they get to go in with that.
All right, now sights advantage for the Gladiators. Arn spots Kilo in the distance, wants him to peek, takes a shot of the support line, hoping Kilo is going to use that as a bit of an entry. Violet ends up just going down through the window, body shot. Yeah, it does a lot of damage. Insta kills 200 HP targets, so there's no hope for you, unfortunately. Finn does kill Skewed somehow, but the Gladiators do end up capped.
Wait, but Kaluj killed himself.
Yeah, Hypersphere's on the ground, I suppose, or on the shield. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unlucky.
That's unfortunate, but I think that regardless of how that happened, Gladiators would have been able to cap that first point anyway, but it's all about getting towards this third point, and they're starting to run out of time to do so. Skewed is actually going to switch over to the Brigida, just to provide a bit more point presence here. I think that Baptiste is great, but the Brigida rally and just being able to fight these close quarters towards this third point, it does prepare you a little bit better.
Christ. That's a good shot. Arn's in such a nice position now the enemy Widowmaker doesn't have to be taken care of. There's a Flux from Kaluj, survived this, and the Glads are good. No, Skewed crumples into a little bit of paper. The San Francisco Shock do have a nice spawn advantage, and space being super low with only Shoot to heal him up. The San Francisco Shock are now layering on that pressure. That's trying to turn this around with a Flux, but the lamp comes out just in time. The Shock are still good, hiding in this small corner, making a two-pronged attack with that window. You look Proper's way, or do you look Violet's way? Unfortunately, you're looking at spawn right now. We feel the Glads. Kilo dies once again, but it doesn't matter. Proper is still alive and doing some work.
Gosh, stopping the cart right here too is the same predicament that Shock found themselves in on the flip side. Gladiators are still, again, starting to run out of time. 1 minute remaining here for their attack push, and Oz is down again. So that is another person that Gladiators have to wait for to respawn before they can even try to approach this cart.
Yeah, I mean, Rose, that just means it's last fight for the Glads.
Yeah.
I mean, at least they got Transcendence online, they're going to have sights. Maybe they get Rally, probably not. 45%, depending how quickly you go down. And now Kevster gets picked. The Shock are just halting the Gladiators, not with team wipes, just with individual picks, burning that time bank down close to 0. Is Proper going to go for something cheeky? He was trying to. I wouldn't test dance.
Ooh. Finds the Widowmaker.
Right, Kevster. Oh, well, Space is now already dead. Okay. San Francisco Shock. Now just have to deal with Kevster. Jumps in the air, takes care of 2. Both DPS now dead for the Shock. He's trying to get a couple of collapse while putting himself on the payload. There are 10 seconds to go with Glad still having a Transcendence in their back pocket. He has to use it for Kalush's Flux, but actually they're going to use it early to try and keep themselves in engagement. No damage now for the Glads. They've only got 2 supports left. Skew gets instantly taken care of by Kilo, who jumps back around that corner, and the San Francisco Shock are now a match point.
No actual way. This was the Gladiators map choice, Jaws. They brought in their specialists, Ons and Space, hoping that this would be a map win for them, but they are back to the drawing board. Yeah, Shocker at match point, and off the back of some insane picks coming through from Proper and Kilo to continue to start off each of these fights.
I mean, Proper's on 21 of 40 final blows for Shock. That map. I mean, we saw Sam do it a little bit earlier on, and now we're seeing Proper doing it. What more can you ask for from the DPS line of the San Francisco Shock? They're looking at world class right now and is sitting on match point. One more, and they will be heading to the finals. We'll see you after this break.
feels pretty darn good to be back here in a LAN setting. It's been quite some time.
The Overwatch League's most decorated franchise here in a new era.
The pulse on the mag! Another from Proper!
Sparkle on a Genji meta.
Sparkle found an opening. There's one, there's two.
That's the Sparkle I want to see in this series.
Those stats getting padded by Sparkle. Sparkle with two and another one.
This is going to be a heck of a weekend, I'll tell you right now.
You get Kai set up, it is going to be just like that the rest of the game.
Back on their side of the map, that's a stink.
Oh, checkmate!
A Widow player potentially without equal.
That is some filthy stuff.
Where did that come from? A triple Death Blossom.
But Pelican comes out of nowhere. That's two with the Storm Arrows. Millimeters away from victory, and they've done it!
Shanghai Dragons just continue to play right out in front of the spawns. There's the blade beacon be used. Nice pin, long pin too. Alfie into the back there, managing to fight two. Basically the equivalent of 3 people. He nearly had all of the kills.
Seoul Dynasty have not defeated the Shanghai Dragons since the 2020 playoffs. I think these are the top 2 teams in APAC.
Drago's absolutely monstrous. They take down the Dragons. I'm sweet. Best Widowmaker in all of APAC. Oh, he fell onto it.
Kevster, who has been frightening ever since he joined this team.
Smurf knows what it feels like to win everything, hungry to experience that feeling once more.
Ederson is locked in, ready to go. Ederson with a 5K. That's what you want to see. They might just pull the trigger here. They do, but an unreal wall from Checkmate.
Now the stakes get ratcheted up a notch.
It is do or die.
Pops the recall. Is looking for the target. That comes in. He can find him. Problem in the meantime, found two with the pulse bomb.
Han Bin is the best Sire in the world right now.
Shu has absolutely taken matters into his own hands.
But Panapan free firing on the fuel. And after so very long, the Dynasty will be able to best the Dragons.
Playoffs Prophet has certainly arrived. The script writers, they're not messing around today.
You step up to the plate, son. With a victorious war, the Gladiators are just tearing them apart. Seoul Dynasty will dominate their way and secure the kickoff Clash title.
God. Man. Overwatch is, I'm not going to say a swear, but it is a beautiful game when you have clips like that. It honestly just showcases the very best in the world, and that's, of course, right now, what they're fighting for, that trophy, the Midseason Madness one. The little, I think it's the Total Mayhem logo from Junkrat. I think it's very, it's very sick. It looks really nice. Look, the Shock are one map away from make it to the grand finals, Rose. When you looked at their kickoff Clash performance, they did not step up at all. And it was a shock, I think, to a lot. It was a shock. It was a shock, I think, to a lot of people. And the Gladiators ended up winning the entire thing. And now Shock, they're not in front of a live crowd or anything right now, but you're still in an environment when you can see your opposition. There you go, Proper, waving at Paddy over there. And they're in the driving seat. A quite convincing Circuit Royale, and there's a whole host of swaps going on, but we'll talk to that in a minute. If the Gladiators lose here, they jump down to the lower bracket where they either face Rain or the Fusion, who will play a little bit later on.
Yeah, and that doesn't sound like a fun opponent to have to go up against either when you look at both of those options that would be waiting down there for you. But you know, I want to talk about the fact that Gladiators were predicted across the board to win this match from majority of pick'ems from our desk, but holding off on this till talking about it now. I think the Shock not only poised to take the series home for this next map, but after the performance that they've given us the past few days, I don't think there's a lot of doubters or a lot of doubt you should have for this team moving forward. I mean, Proper having yet another match of his life. Sam had an incredible performance on Eichenwalde before getting switched out for Kilo on Circuit Royale. He will be coming back in to the match, but yeah, I mean, what the heck? Bro, we looked at Proper's, we've been checking in on Proper stats every map. Like, we looked at them after Eichenwalde, we're looking at them after Circuit Royale. I think they just got better. I actually think they got better.
Yeah, it's weird how that happens. sometimes Proper just kills people. And there you go, you can tell. Final blows, 22 out of the 28 limbs. Looking unreal. We're going to Colosseo, Rose. And this was Glad's map pick. And what's funny about Push with the San Francisco Shock, they've only actually lost one Push map out of the 10 that they've played. And the funny thing is, it is Colosseo that they did lose. So, I mean, picking the highest percentage play there, if you're the Gladiators, you have Reiner back in, Patapan, swapping out for Arns, and yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to swap out space. You don't really want to play the Sigma here. Arns, Widowmaker, Ashe, etc. But you want Patapan back in so Kevs can play Tracer and Patapan can play the Sojourn. So that makes a whole bunch of sense here.
Yeah, and especially the Lucio as well to help you zoom around the map. So we're seeing Funny Astro as well in for Skewed. As we saw Funny Astro on Ilios, and that was a win. That was a win for the Gladiators on Ilios, 2-0 over the Shock in a very convincing manner. And so the fact that we're starting things back out for the Gladiators with their starting lineup on Colosseo does speak to me. They're going to try to hit fast, hit hard, the Lucio, the Doomfist, all of the works. But San Francisco Shock really finally started to find their groove with the Winston composition, and so we will start to see them go back to that for a little bit here with the Sojourn and the Tracer. So Sam, Proper, having great games today, but can the Gladiators keep with the team synergy? Will that be able to take them over the top and tie up this series? That's what we're looking at here for Colosseo.
Rather slow approach for the Shock right now. I guess they were making sure the Glads didn't go for this big flank. The Glads sniffed that out. They were like, okay, we'll just go main. Just take a little bit of a better position than the Shock. You can see them kind of huddling around this miniature health pack room. Mikey takes a big ante and actually has to back off. Proper in a duel versus Kevster. Good speed boost from Astro, but I mean, he kind of sped boosted him away and Mikey got punched into the back line and then Sam sniped Patapan. It was too much damage. It was a nice idea from Funny Astro there, but punching Mikey back into the rest of the team, not great. Guys do have the smallest lead in the world, but it should be the cleanup for the Shock. Not crazy amount of staggers though. Unless they kill Reiner.
Yeah.
No, Reiner, stay alive, please. No, Proper double blink straight inside. Yeah, there you go. Okay, that's fairly large, and the bot has been booming this whole time.
Yeah, Finn just on perma bot duty right now, just to be able to keep that thing rolling. And I mean, you just want to get to the checkpoint. If you get to the checkpoint, I think you're feeling pretty good about the lead that you have. But man, Proper going after Patty again.
Yeah, Patapan
leave the man alone.
No, not going to happen. Nano boost for Mikey as he jumps the backline. Super early ults from the San Francisco Shock. Just showing you how much damage they did in that first fight and how much healing. Oh my god, the Shock actually might hit checkpoint before the Glads can get out of spawn. And Proper triple blinks into the spawn and kills Reiner the Pulse. Alrighty, okay. It's Shock's game. It's Shock season.
I think so. I really think so. I mean, they started to look really good. I think people had some questions about this rookie roster, but that bot reaches the checkpoint before anybody from the Gladiators can stop it, and they're just gonna get folded over like dominoes here.
Reiner trying to disrupt Sam, but he's already killed two. The bot is being contested, but the Gladiators have found themselves back in spawn again. A rather familiar place to be for them currently. The Shock just piling on the pressure. They did end up losing Finn, so they haven't got a lot of healing, but they still gain a lot of free bot push right now. His Gladiators have to come back from the spawn. They're just going to keep the momentum going. I mean, why not? A huge beat from the Shock. Finn wasn't even back in the mix. But the Shock are just pushing on forward. The Gladiators have a whole wealth of ultimates, but Astro doesn't have his beat anymore. Not sure where that went, but the Glads, they got 4 ults. Let's have a look at the small replay. Was that a cancel on the beat? Proper comes in, gets the beat. Astro with 50 HP gets it cancelled by Proper.
Oh, that's such a feels bad. That is such a feels bad. You would love to have that ultimate online to be able to deal with anything coming out from the Shock here, even if it's just to make sure that you've got sustain going into the next fight, which they desperately need.
Dude, Proper's just a freak of nature, man. He's just so good on the Tracer. It's the ultimate from Patapan on the side, but a nice little boop from Violet to keep Paddy away from the rest of the team. The Shock aren't moving the bot right now, but they've made significant progress on this map already. 106 meters as the Gladiators finally regain control of the bot. But it has been a shock game for the last 4 minutes.
It looked like it might have been a shutout there based on the pace that the Shock were going with for those last few fights as well. Just really not giving the Gladiators a chance to breathe. But finally looks like Gladiators can start kicking off some of these fights themselves with a few ults of their own. Nice.
Gladiators now trying to set their own tempo. That was a good meteor strike there by Reiner. They do end up killing Shu with the help of that nano onto Mikey, but shouldn't matter all too much. You can get Astro to taxi back, but getting the bot back, pushing the block there, that's what you need. Oh, look at that. Actually, Proper's trying to spawn camp, spots Astro. Okay, knows he can't tussle with it. I mean, ideally, if you kill Shu there, you lose 2 fights or a fight and a half because the bot moves so fast back to the barricade.
But I mean, look at this too. Okay. You just set the Gladiators up again and knock them down. Sam's gonna take that at trade any day of the week.
Okay, Gladiators need to do something, but the slap, no! The disruptor shot woke Reiner up. He takes care of Finn and Sam. There's still a Primal Rage and Mikey happening in the background. He does end up killing Padapan and Astro and Reiner. Mikey's still in this, by the way, Glads. They were trying to get control of the bot there and push it onto the barricade, and it felt like Glads thought they won that. But Mikey comes up with 3 from the Primal.
Yeah, well, the thing about Shock, too, is like they're just kind of individually player hero carrying right now. Just watch how much value each of them gets when they use any of their ults.
Oh my god!
Oh, you're still 180, okay.
Oh, Kev's is going to feel that tomorrow. Beat for the Glads. Only hits 2. Padapan and Reiner don't receive that at all. Proper gets headshot by Padapan, keeps him in the fight and stops that pulse bomb from going off. Astro doing his best to escort Shu around the map, stopping him from getting jumped on and instantly killed. The Gladiators do win that fight, regardless of the 2-man beat. The Shock's still trying to set that tempo, but they're burning a lot of time off the bank. The Gladiators have not gained any meterage, and finally now, they're getting a little sample of that. But the Shock are going to come back so fast with Violet on that Lucio.
Yeah, we spent over 2 minutes in the neutral. That's a lot of time. I mean, the fact that we're sub 4 minutes now, San Francisco Shock coming back with ults.
Sam through the windows, can't quite find much, and now Reiner's in a whole heap of trouble. Got the Meteor Strike, but he's 1 HP when he comes back down. He's going to have to retreat to the rest of his team. Go straight to the Mega Health Pack. It's good enough for the time being, but now has to follow up on Mikey. An unreal sleep from Shu. He's actually got a nano of his own. Kevster gets a double pulse bomb from somewhere. So much is happening right now, but the Glads are in control, and that's what counts. 50 meters and counting now.
Look at this as well. I think Gladiators have finally found their footing, but I want to take a look at this double pulse from Kevster. You got to stick onto Sam. It looks like... Oh!
Seemed far too...
That's unfortunate.
Many of those. Ouch.
Not mid-slide, though, when he got stuck. But we'll let it slide. Going back to the neutral now, San Francisco Shock have a little bit of control, but looking for more territory as Kevster's also trying to get after the back line.
Yeah, the pace still a little bit unbelievable from both teams right now. Finally gets stunned by Reiner, pushed into that wall. Nano does so much. If you stun someone and you're nanoed, you almost insta-kill a squishy target. Mikey in a whole lot of trouble, gets antied, had the primal, so he was good for the time. And now the Gladiators trying to gain some meterage. Good kill onto Finn, who's way too far up without the help of Violet. And now Ryan's in a little bit of trouble. Scurries back to the rest of his supports, and they're trying so hard to get this checkpoint. They eventually do it as they kill off Proper.
This is huge, though. I mean, Gladiators have made up for so much lost meterage here. They are almost going to be able to live up to what the Shock have already accomplished on the other side of the map. And they still have ultimates to rotate through in order to match that progress. Kevster up to bat.
Nice beat from the Gladiators. They know they got to win the fight here with 1 minute and 50 seconds to go. Shu puts his name on the board, killing 2 of the Shock. Now the Shock know. The win condition right now is just stopping that bot from going. If they win a fight here, they should be good to play all the way up. And actually, Shu ends up going down. Somehow, Finn manages to get the snipe. Reiner is super low. It's up to Padapan with the overclock to try and waylay the Shock for some sort of time before their supports end up getting back. But a beat from the Shock surges them forward.
Reiner's up in the sky, but he's so low when he comes back down to earth. He does manage to kill Finn, but now Sam is nanoed with the overclock going off. It does end up fading away, but look at that. With 1 minute to go, they've managed to win the fight here. The bot's gonna just travel so fast around these corners rows. The Glads need to come up with something big, otherwise they will be going down to the lower bracket.
Well, it's going to have to be that nano from Shu. That's the thing that the Gladiators have to rely on right now to get something over the top. Maybe it's a pop-up performance, but this is it. We're back in the neutral where we have seen the Gladiators stop for most of this map so far.
Well, Shu's got the nano in a couple of percent. Recall from Kevster. Didn't want to go down to stand this early. Okay, there's the nano. Reiner trying to get on the back line. He's spotted Finn, doesn't quite get the punch into the wall. He's just taken so much damage. Every single member of the Shock right now is trying to protect Finn, and they've done so successfully. Sam going pretty low. He is antied, and somehow Reiner gets the last final kill on him. 92 meters and counting. The Gladiators with 20 seconds to go now need to just gain over 10 meters, and they should be good to keep them in the series. A late kill onto Finn is fantastic. Can they get Violet? Not quite, but they're still in this, Rose.
Oh my gosh, and look at this though too. Gladiators, they might be able to go ahead and match that progress.
Nice
Can anybody
punch
get there?
from Reiner. Does send Mikey hurtling backwards. 2 meters to go. The stick from Kevster is good. 1 DPS down now from the Shock. He's got his eyes set on Finn in the backline, who's so pretty low. Violet needs to be able to save him. If Finn falls, they've got so little healing left. Kevster's done the hero play. Violet ends up going down. 2.85 meters to go, and the Gladiators send out a beat to try and make this the final fight. Padapan is so healthy right now as the Shock are all back in spawn apart from Proper with no recall. It's no problem for the Gladiators. Overtime is here, but the Glads keep them in the series.
What a comeback from the Gladiators. Shock were running away with Coliseo as we kicked it off in those first few minutes, but then finally Gladiators got their acts together. It took a little while, but they did get it together, Jaws.
That is the only push map the Shock have lost. Out of the 11 push maps they've played now, it's been a loss twice on Coliseo, and you can see why the Glads wanted to go there. What a godlike turnaround from the Glads. 106 meters the Shock gained on that push.
Yeah.
Some people would have called it, but the Gladiators, no. They hung up that phone. They knew they could come back. It was overtime, but they managed to do it. We're going all the way. Map number 5 right after this break. course, it would go all the way. Map number 5, the Shock and the Glads are facing down for a spot in the grand final tomorrow of the Midseason Madness Tournament. Both teams been looking great on, it feels like every other map. One team does exceptionally well and then the other team does exceptionally well, just kind of topples them over. But what a comeback on Colosseo for the Glads. They were down 100 meters and managed to turn that one around.
That was absolutely insane. I think, you know, you just look at that and you look at the insurmountable lead sometimes that some of these teams can accumulate over the course of a push map and you go, that's very difficult to come back from. But as Avali likes to say, it is comebackable.
True.
So Glads fans should be very excited that we get a chance to go into a 5th and final map here. Shock still, it is their choice because they just lost that last map. So I wonder if that's going to do them any favors going into this 5th and final one.
Yeah, we are going on to Oasis. And, well, Oasis is a bit of an interesting one. I think it's 50% roughly right now for the Shock win-loss on Oasis. Might be a little bit more tipped in the way of winning, but it was just the push line as a stat line was just crazy. I can't believe the only map they lose on push is Colosseo, and they do end up losing that one. A bit ridiculous. I remember the Gladiators, they got here through the upper bracket semi-finals, battling the Hangzhou Spark, and that was an incredibly close 5-map series. So of course this one would go to 5. I mean, these are the 2 best teams in North America right now. You could argue one of them is the best team in the Overwatch League right now. Have to wait and see. Of course, Midseason Madness Finals is tomorrow, and one of their teams is booking their ticket to that after this series, and it all comes down to this.
Hey, they're holding hands though. 1st seed, 2nd seed, right at the winners finals together. And it's all coming together. It's all coming together. But we are heading over to University to kick off our 1st round of Oasis. And here's something interesting. We're seeing Kaluge in the lineup for a control map, when typically we've been seeing Mikey to be able to provide that flexibility of playing the Wrecking Ball and the Winston. But I believe that this Doomfist will stick from Kaluge.
Yeah, the ball isn't. The ball's like okay, I think, on University. I'd still rather have the Doomfist. There's so many more walls you can kind of punch people into. So
that's true.
It's a little bit of okay. So what kind of maps are we going to? We don't know because it's control and it's like randomly selected. What map? What round? So
yeah, like do we get City Center at all?
Exactly.
If we are gonna get it.
It's definitely a tough one, but putting Collusion does feel like the right play. No Sojourn, by the way, for the Shock. They're actually going to have Kilo on the Ashe. He's going to sit all the way at the back with his supports, but the Ashe can be dove quite easily. You only have one, well, not anymore. Thank you, Kilo.
Not if you kill the diver first.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh. Like I said before, Rose, Kilo's aim is just cracked. Like, it's ridiculous. Speaking of cracked as well, proper 2 kills on Rhino Cadavan. His tracking on the Soldier when I was watching him pre-season, oh my god, it was absurd. And a Shock that came into 2022 with a new roster of all rookies apart from Violet, which is unbelievable. And they're still carrying on that legacy of the Shock being one of the more dominant teams in North America.
That just speaks to the coaching of the Shock, I feel like. They're going to kick off another fight here with Violet now getting a pick. But yeah, it just speaks volumes to how well coached and how individually skilled all of these players are. Put them on a team together and it's also just magic.
I mean, it definitely feels like Krusty bullies them into submission at times, but it's always fun to see on the timeline. Ryan is diving in with the nano boost. Can he get anything done? Both supports are pretty low. Punches finished the wall, but not before. An executed dive on the back line of the Gladiators is rather successful. Probably with a pulse onto Padapan. And Scooter wasn't long for this world. Shu gets cleaned up, and there you go. The Gladiators tried to go for a dive. Ryan found one, but it felt like he didn't really have any backup there. The Gladiators were a little bit more concerned and split off. Do we help our backline or do we try and help Ryan? And neither ended up working out, and, well, they lose that fight.
Look at this. Gladiators also having a bit of a composition identity crisis. Reiner somehow...
Reiner?
I'm just going to... We'll talk about that in a second, but I want to talk about the fact that Patty has now chosen his 4th hero this round. You know, going for the Sojourn to the Hanzo to the Ashe briefly, and now the Genji. And now Reiner's back. Tactical?
He's back. Definitely not tactical. There's the coach cut. Matching Transcendence. Again, the executed dive on the backline of the Glads is successful for Kaluj. A nice nade, but it ain't gonna matter. 82%, 83 build. No. Where are the Glads? The San Francisco Shock have rolled over Los Angeles as they take round number 1. There was no fight for Glads there. They either got picked, Reiner accidentally, maybe slipping on, I don't know, a bit of wet floor, I suppose, and throwing himself off the map. Unlucky, I guess, but there was no fighting there from the Glads. There wasn't a distinct, like, okay, there's a lot of brawling going on. Reiner went in a couple of times, ended up getting slept, or he took too long to get a kill, and then the Shock just rolled over the Glads backline.
Yeah,
okay.
No!
That is so unlucky, actually.
Oh, that's so sad. I mean, Gladiators, to just back up what you were saying, Jaws, they got 1 kill that entire
1 kill,
round.
the Glads. And the Shock got 15.
Yep.
15!
That was clean.
All right, Hog.
That was
Pog.
clean. That's not what is happening. It's Hog on both sides.
Yep.
Stop it.
No, this is good. Oh, this is real.
Is it?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Well, okay, it's going to be entertaining, I think.
Yeah, you just bullet sponges, basically, if you're playing Hog right now. It's kind of annoying to chase down. You just got to be wary if you're Kaluj. Shu is still playing the Ana. Shock, not so much. Ooh. Nice, there you go. Hook, nade, there's the kill. The Glads want to fight. However, I say that, I'm not going to call it yet, as Proper is still alive. Skew does end up falling at the hands of Proper and Finn, who've made quite the rotation. Are very swiftly sent back to spawn. And the Gladiators are going to cap the point for the first time in Oasis.
Well, that's good for them because they will start to be able to, I think, get a nice defensive position. I wasn't gonna say something snarky there, I swear.
Okay.
I mean, the fact that you get to have Patty now set up on the high ground. Who are you really going to send after him on that rotunda in the middle? And then you've got the other high ground to play around. Reiner keeps getting hooks.
Immortality feels super good though. I mean, even if you anti, the Immortality field still needs to be dealt with. Nano on the Hog. Finn doesn't stand a chance, but now he hasn't got a hook to really play with. A couple of right clicks do a fair bit of damage. Heals himself up to full, but the Shock managed to cap the point. Nano really didn't do all of anything there. Long range. How did that hook hit? Well, don't know. Both Hogs are dead, though. Proper's got a pulse bomb, and that's what counts. The San Francisco Shock do end up capping. And the Gladiators are going to have to go again. I wonder if they're going to stop hooking first. Normally, in the Hog duel, if you hook last, you do end up winning, I will say. So it's a bit awkward for Reiner there. Unfortunately, there's no lamp on the side of the Glad, so you can't just insta-put lamp down when you get the hook first. So
yeah. Well, the other part about that, too, is you've seen how Shu follows up a lot of the times of the Bionade as well after Reiner secures a hook. So it's just a really quick takedown of whoever Reiner decides to get at the end of that bait. But still control over the Shock here.
Yeah, they can jostle on this point forever. Mr. Bob comes out to play. Kilo with a very clutch Kosh gun does save himself from the Dragons. Kev still lands a pulse on to the Immortality field that time. Violet not quite so lucky to help the rest of his team. Ends up getting taken out. Kills Reiner in the meantime. But the Gladiators seem to want to invest a little bit more into this fight. The Transcendence comes out just to secure. I mean, 65%, you don't really want to have the fight go on for any longer. Otherwise, you're in one-fight territory there.
Yeah, and especially when you see Kaluj also switch over to the Diva. And so that'll be helpful to try to stop any of those one-shot combos coming in from Reiner on the Roadhog, or maybe even some of these Storm Arrows that'll be coming through from Patapan still on the Hanzo. So I like the Defense Matrix choice here, just to kind of change things up a little bit as we see Shock posture to try to take back control. Proper looking for a target.
God, Proper again, starting the fight out, killing 2 people with the help of Finn's Discord. 68% for the Glad. They've only just managed to match the Shock, but Shock find a flip. Late Transcendence from Finn as Proper finds his 3rd kill of the fight. Reiner is on the run, but not for long as he gets chased down, uses the breather, but he is discorded. Nice Matrix by Kaluj to help them finish the kill onto Reiner. 81% and building for the shock now, as this could very well be it. Glads need to come back, and they need to come back now.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, Reiner doesn't even have the chance. Yeah, he can't use the ultimate here. He's got to give it up, go to the Wrecking Ball. He's got to get back in time to make sure that this is a fair 5v5 fight.
Kiddo can sit all the way at the back. Hasn't really got too much to worry about. Nice bit of dynamite damage, but overtime is here. Kev's trying to get on the back line. If that was a headshot, I think it would have screamed, but Padapans, I think, screaming a little bit louder than I would be there as he goes down first once again to the hands of Proper. A recall from Kevster, and now he has to put himself in danger. He has the pulse bomb, throws it on the Meg. That should be an instant D-Meg, but the backhand, the Gladiators are already dead. Kilo kills Kevster, and as overtime ticks through, the San Francisco Shock roll the Gladiators on Oasis and see themselves in the Midseason Madness Finals.
Wow, look at that. I mean, look at it. They're just chatting it up, too. Gladiators, they're taking this one on the chin. They still have another life in this tournament, but for the Shock, they have secured themselves to at least 2nd place. And that definitely has to feel good, especially after the performance that they put on during the kickoff clash. What a great showing from them today. What a fun match overall.
It had to go to 5. It just had to.
Had to.
Well, the San Francisco Shock do go to the finals. The Gladiators still have a chance. They jump down to the lower bracket final, and they will play the winner of our next match, the Atlanta Reign versus the Philadelphia Fusion. But that Oasis was just a blowout from the Shock. The last round, a little bit closer. But University, the Glads did not have a single fight, Rose.
I don't think they touched the point. I don't think they touched the point. They got 1 kill. Like, that's it. It was definitely super decisive for the Shock, and when you look at how well the Shock were able to win some of these fights, I think you've got to give a lot of accolades to Proper, who will be our player of the match. I mean, what a mad lad, Jaws. We looked at Proper's performance from yesterday's match for the San Francisco Shock and how incredibly well poised Shock was for success when looking at some of those picks from Proper, but even today, just it's still on a tear through this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, he's a whole new level of crack, that's for sure. On that Oasis, like, he was getting 1 to 2 picks almost every single fight. This 5K here, this guy is just a monster. If he keeps this up, it could potentially be one of the greatest rookie performances we've ever seen from a player entering the Overwatch League. I mean, we're only halfway through the year right now, right? I mean, you know, Midseason Madness, 2nd tournament in, but for what we're seeing right now, Proper, best rookie we have so far. His Tracer this match, 50% pulse bomb attach rate, very, very few deaths, 10 plus final blows per 10. He's looking clean.
He's been looking so good, whether it is the Tracer or it is the Sojourn or whatever Proper decides to play. You know that we're in for a good treat. I feel like Zoe's going to be very happy to see how Proper performed in this match today, and you definitely have the stats to back it up too.
A lot of the actually, didn't everybody pred Glads too?
Yeah,
okay,
they did.
That's good. Great. I'm glad this went this way, because I would have preded the Shock if I was on the desk. I wonder how they're feeling right now. Not sure. Maybe a little bit salty.
We'll find out, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. We'll jump to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We've got the desk, and there's salty tears coming up after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Go to takemetomanoa.org today.
Welcome to Game Break, everybody. I'm here joined now by Sam from San Francisco Shock. Sam, what a match. How are you feeling right now?
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
I mean, so I want to ask you, I actually overheard you talking to Unter from Gladiators, and like you guys were talking and you said, oh, this is like the best match. I'm having so much fun. What about the match were you so like hyped about?
I always enjoy like matches more when it's against teams we scrim a lot. We scrim Gladi more, so like the London match is really fun. And then this is like a fast-paced team. They're like just all respectable players. I have a lot of friends on the team as well. I was just having a blast like competing against them, and with the way they play Overwatch, like, even when we lost Elios, like I knew we were still in the game. I was still just, I don't know. I just felt like I was having fun, you know.
And it was definitely really fun to watch. I think everyone in chat definitely agrees as well. And you mentioned about Elios, and in my personal opinion, I think it was after